Hello, welcome to Liz Rocks and Stuff. I'm Liz. It's time to see what's in my tumbler, episode 37. Shutting down all of my barrels so that I don't have to deal with them over the holidays. Starting out with Obsidian. This is the second batch of Obsidian in stage 3. All of my Obsidian is now gone all the way through stage 3. And so once I start everything back up, these will be going into stage 4. So I'll have 2 batches of Obsidian going through stage 4, and then all of my Obsidian will be done. Kind of looking forward to that. So all of my barrels this week, because they're getting shut down, are going to be put through a cleaning cycle. I prefer to store them as cleanly as possible. So I don't want to have any grit on them. They are completely covered in water regardless of what stage they're in. But I just like to make sure that they're clean. So again, I don't like to just dump my Obsidian into the barrel. I like to be a little more gentle with it. It probably would be okay, but it doesn't hurt to just take a little extra time. So getting that all put back into the barrel, going to run a cleaning cycle on it. So 3 tablespoons of borax. And I actually ran all of these overnight, not because I felt like they needed it, but because I just got busy and wasn't able to take care of these in the normal window of time that I generally do them. But so they did run overnight. They were just a little extra clean. So so stage 3 soap cycle, and then these are going to be rinsed off. And the rest of this is going to be different from what I normally do, but all 4 of the barrels did the same process at this point. Dump them out, get all of that borax and extra grit rinsed off. And then I am just going to put these right back in that barrel because that's the easiest, best place to store them. And then I'm just going to cover them with water and put the lid back on. For my rocks that are between stages or waiting to have enough to fill another barrel, I will, they're stored in an open cup, and I just top them up as I go. But since these are going to be stored for a little bit longer, I'm actually just going to put them back in the barrel. The barrel seals pretty well, so I don't expect the water to evaporate very much. So that's just what I'm going to do. And I put the lid back on so I know what's in what barrel. All right, moving on to the Bahia Agates, which are currently in stage 3. So again, once these start up, these will go into stage 4, and then they should be done, hopefully. So getting these all rinsed off. They were, that's a, pretty dirty they looked. I'm not sure why it's that tan color, but I think the Bahia Agates have had like sort of a brownish tint to the grit, and that's probably because of just the color of the rock as it's being ground off. But I'm not worried about it. The color of grit doesn't concern me. It's usually dependent on the kind of rock that you have in there. You want to pay more attention to the consistency of it and make sure that you're getting a nice thick slurry. But anyway, so putting these back into the barrel for their cleaning cycle, and again, all of my barrels are going to go through the same process today, so this is going to be a little bit of a boring, redundant video at this point, but it is what I needed to do. So we're going to, again, 3 tablespoons of borax. These ran in a cleaning cycle overnight, and then they are just going to be stored. So get that lid tightened back on there. And I always make sure that I label, even though I know all of these are going through a soap cycle, I always like to be in the habit of labeling what stage these are at, because otherwise I would absolutely forget what I'm doing. So that's an interesting soap slurry there. I'm not sure why it was kind of frothy like that, but whatever. Sometimes your borax gets a little more frothy than others. I expect that when I'm using like ivory soap, which I might start going back. I'm toying with the idea of switching back to ivory soaps for cleaning and using borax to thicken a slurry and for burnishing at the very end. I don't know. The ivory soap was a little bit more of a hassle to deal with because you have to, I preferred pre-grading it. But, maybe it did a better job. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I'm still toying with some ideas on what I can do. And all right, moving on to Catdog Season 2. This is in Stage 2 and looking pretty good. This was one that I just kind of started up last week, put through to Stage 2 because I finally had enough. I do have more of this, so I feel like I might be running this sort of mixed, miscellaneous batch of rocks that got all mixed up for a little while. We'll see, because I'm going to have some open barrels coming up soon once the Obsidian and the Bahia Agates are done. So, not sure what I'm going to start next. We'll see. I've got a lot of options. My rock, I don't know, the rock equivalent of your to be red pile is quite large right now. So, we'll see what I'm doing. Anyway, so get these back in the barrel so that we can. This is for running the soap cycle, so I lost where we were in the video for a minute. All right, so put the water in there, put the 3 tablespoons of borax, put the lid back on, and then again ran overnight, mostly because I got busy and couldn't get to them in the usual few hours that I generally run my soap cycles. But longer soap cycles aren't a bad thing. I wouldn't run them more than overnight. Some people will run them for a couple days. I feel like they just do best at most overnight. But, all right, so dumping that out, we're going to get this all cleaned up and rinsed off. And again, just put them back in the barrel, cover them with water. And I more than just covered them. I filled the barrel all the way to the top with water just to make sure, they're going to be sitting for a while and I can't see them because there's a cover on them. So I just made extra sure that there was plenty of water in there. That the water's not going to evaporate. Now, since they are clean and I did thoroughly clean them, I could technically store these dry. I just don't want to. I don't like taking that risk of the grit drying onto the rocks and then me having to restart them again. So just didn't feel like doing it. All right. So Rainbow Tiger, that is a red red slurry. And it's because there's red tiger's eye in here. So they're going to be, I think all of the slurries in this batch are going to be just a little bit red, even down to the very end, just because of how red the red tiger's eye is. I think that it kind of colors the slurry a little bit more than the blue or the gold does. But even the gold, when it's in a batch, just one of those gold tiger's eye will turn your slurry a pretty brown color. So I think it's just these tend to shed and color your slurries a little bit more. They're a little more pigmented, I guess. So yeah, get these in the barrel. And I actually have 2 tiger's eyes from a previous batch that I think they're ready for stage 2, but I'm just going to throw them in here so that they're with all these other tiger's eyes so I don't forget about them. And put water in there and 3 tablespoons of borax, and then again top it off, run it overnight. And then in the next morning we will get to see if this is a pretty slurry again, if it's that clay red color. I think it is. I think just every batch of this is going to be red. So yeah, even with no grit, just borax, it's still red. So it's just these rocks are going to make this a really colorful slurry. So maybe if I have more blue than red, I'd have a blue slurry, but I have a lot of red. So we'll see. I am very excited about these. I feel like they're going to need to tumble for quite a bit because these are very hard rocks. But I'm willing to wait for these to turn out really well because I love tiger's eye. It's one of my favorite rocks, so I really want these to turn out really, really good. So get them put in the barrel, get the lids put on, and so all 4 of my barrels are in storage. It's very quiet in my office now. I don't like it, but at least I don't have to deal with these. So thanks for watching. Next week will not be a tumbling video. It's going to be a resin video, and then I'll be back with tumbling the week after that.